The king says, you need to give up your titles. This is getting ridiculous.
Queen Camilla never imagined that the person who would stand up against her would be Princess Anne, the reserved but most powerful woman in the British royal family. Recently, Camilla still appeared beside King Charles with her familiar smile. But behind the formal ceremonies and perfect photographs, a silent confrontation was unfolding inside the palace. Anne began to grow suspicious when unfamiliar business faces kept appearing at royal events, all connected to Camilla. At first, it was just a few recurring names on the guest list. But the deeper Anne dug, the more she discovered inexplicable relationships, unusual privileges, and one businessman who seemed perpetually shielded from trouble. What made this man receive such special treatment? And what role did Camilla truly play in all of this? When Anne decided to investigate on her own, she had no idea she was stepping into a labyrinth of secrets, loyalty, and power. Would Anne gather enough evidence to expose everything before it was all erased? In recent days, the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace and Clarence House had become strangely tense. Queen Camilla, who had walked with growing confidence and power, now seemed deliberately pushed to the sidelines. Important meetings no longer included invitations for her. Her public schedule had been significantly reduced. Even her longtime assistants began avoiding her gaze. The power Camilla had painstakingly built appeared to be dissolving in just one short month. Many within the royal household whispered that an underground storm was approaching. It all began at a grand dinner party at Windsor Castle exactly 1 month ago. Princess Anne, King Charles's sister, known for her straightforward, decisive nature and strong sense of duty, was present as a royal representative. She stood in the magnificent hall, observing everything with her characteristically sharp eyes. Amid the familiar faces of aristocrats, politicians, and royal family members, Anne noticed a group of strangers. There were about a dozen of them, dressed elegantly, wearing expensive watches and mingling like true VIP guests. But Anne was certain they were not part of the royal family, nor did they hold any official government or diplomatic positions. "Who are those people?" Anne quietly asked an assistant standing nearby, her voice low but clear. The assistant hesitated slightly, glancing toward the group. "Your Royal Highness, they were invited through Queen Camilla's office." The list was approved directly by Her Majesty. Anne frowned. She had attended hundreds of royal parties throughout her career, but this time, something felt very different. These businessmen were not only placed in the important guest area, but were also chatting intimately and laughing heartily with several royal family members. One of them even raised a glass in a toast with a high-ranking duke. Anne felt a distinct sense of unease rising within her. She maintained a calm expression, but had already become alert inside. After making small talk with a few familiar guests, she found a way to get closer to the unfamiliar group. A man in his 50s with silver hair and a tall build was boasting about a major energy project he was about to sign. "Thanks to our good relationship with the royal family, everything has gone much more smoothly," the man said confidently, loud enough for Anne to hear. Anne clenched her fist. She quietly memorized their faces and names through the assistant. When the party ended, instead of leaving immediately, Anne stayed behind for a while to check the official guest list. Most of the unfamiliar names had a clear note invited by Queen Camilla's office. This left Anne unable to sit still. She knew Camilla had always been ambitious in strengthening her position, especially as her brother King Charles's reign gradually transitioned to the next generation. But this time, the matter went far beyond ordinary social networking. These people clearly had not come to honor the royal family, but seemed to be exploiting its prestige. On the way back, Anne sat in the car, looking out into the night beyond the palace. She sighed, her voice filled with concern as she spoke to her assistant. "We cannot allow the royal family to become a tool for anyone. If something improper is happening, we must uncover it before it's too late." That unease did not leave Anne in the following days. She began paying closer attention to Camilla's activities. Small rumors about private meetings, special invitations, and the changing attitudes of major businessmen toward the royal family gradually pieced together into a picture that deeply worried her. Princess Anne had never thought she would have to investigate the woman who had married her brother. But when the honor and reputation of the royal family were threatened, she had no other choice. A silent confrontation had begun, and Anne knew that behind the glamorous facade of lavish parties, a larger conspiracy was waiting to be exposed. After the dinner at Windsor Castle, Princess Anne could not shake the growing unease in her heart. Instead of participating in public duties as usual, she spent most of the following days quietly investigating. With decades of experience in the royal family, Anne knew exactly how to approach the issue with caution but determination. She asked her private assistant to collect guest lists from more than a dozen royal events over the past 6 months, from receptions at Buckingham Palace to charity fundraisers and private dinners. When the documents were placed before her, Anne sat in her private office at St. James's Palace, carefully examining each page. What she discovered made the air in the room feel heavy. More than 10 names appeared with unusual frequency. They were businessmen in real estate, energy finance, and technology people with no official ties to the royal family. They were not major donors to royal charities, nor did they hold any honorary positions. Yet they appeared at the most important events. "Look at this," Anne said to her assistant, her voice low but tense. "Richard Harrington, Michael Thornton, Elena Voss. They appeared at least 4 times in 3 months. The reason for the invitation is always listed as at the request of Queen Camilla's office." The assistant nodded, looking worried. "Your Royal Highness, some of them had never appeared on guest lists before Camilla took on the role of queen." Anne gripped her pen tightly. She continued flipping through the documents and moved on to check social media and business news. What she saw made her suspicions even clearer. Richard Harrington, the tall, silver-haired man she had noticed at the Windsor party, had posted a photo of himself standing next to Camilla at a charity event, using it in his company's promotional materials to attract partners. Anne felt a surge of anger. The royal family's reputation, something her family had preserved through generations of wars, crises, and political changes, was being turned into a business tool. Those photos were not just social souvenirs. They had become capital that helped these businessmen secure major contracts, elevate their status, and attract investment. "This isn't networking," Anne muttered, her voice filled with indignation. "This is exploitation." She recalled the times Camilla had proactively suggested inviting potential partners to events. At the time, Anne had thought it was simply her way of expanding the royal family's influence. Now everything appeared in a completely different light. A network was being systematically built. These businessmen received privileges, and in return, they supported Camilla's image and possibly provided financial benefits. "We need to dig deeper," Anne said to her assistant with firm resolve. "Collect information on their companies. I want to know where the money is flowing and who is truly benefiting." The suspicion in Anne's heart had now turned into clear determination. She did not want to believe that Camilla, the woman her brother loved, was behind such an exploitative system. But if that was the truth, Anne would not hesitate to act. The royal family did not belong to any individual, and she would not allow the honor of the reign to be buried by greed. In the following days, Anne continued gathering information discreetly. Each new piece of the puzzle made the picture darker. If there was a conspiracy, it ran deeper than she had imagined. And Anne knew she no longer had much time to simply observe. Many months earlier, when Prince William began seriously preparing for his future ascension, the atmosphere within the British royal family became more tense than ever. Queen Camilla clearly realized her position was at risk of weakening. She did not want to be merely a nominal queen who would gradually be pushed into the shadows when the new reign began. It was in this context that Camilla quietly initiated an ambitious plan. She began building a secret inner circle of wealthy and highly influential businessmen. Richard Harrington, Michael Thornton, Elena Voss were among the first names Camilla approached. They were not chosen randomly. Each possessed enormous wealth and extensive networks in international finance and politics. Camilla met them in private receptions at Clarence House or secluded villas. She did not make direct demands, but the message was conveyed clearly. The royal family needs truly reliable friends during this period of transition. In exchange for being invited to important royal events, photographed with senior family members, and even arranged chance meetings with William or Charles, this group of businessmen committed to strongly supporting Camilla's image. They invested in charities she patronized, used the media to praise her role, and most importantly, quietly granted Camilla hidden stakes in several major business projects. One evening in a private meeting room, Camilla said to Richard Harrington in a warm but firm voice, "You know well that loyalty is the most precious thing in the royal family. If you stand by my side, our future will shine together." Harrington smiled and nodded. "Your Majesty can rest assured. We know how to repay." At first, everything remained within the bounds of social networking, but gradually, the lines blurred. Some businessmen began exploiting their new connections to impress the business world. They flaunted photos with Camilla in presentation materials and used the royal name to open doors for negotiations on contracts worth hundreds of millions of pounds. There were roundabout money transfers and suspiciously favorable deals signed thanks to the royal factor. Camilla was well aware of what was happening. Internal reports had reached her desk. At one point, a trusted aide anxiously reminded her, "Your Majesty, some of them are going too far. This could pose risks to the royal family." But Camilla merely shook her head lightly, her eyes cold. "They are helping us strengthen our position. The stronger the network, the safer we will be when William ascends. Do not interfere." The ambition to retain power had caused Camilla to ignore the warning signs. She believed that as long as she controlled the flow of information and eliminated any direct paperwork linking back to her, no one could touch her. Every time she saw these businessmen appearing confidently at royal parties, Camilla felt satisfied. Her network was growing larger and stronger. These people were no longer just partners. They had become shields and resources for her ambitions. However, this overconfidence had inadvertently created cracks. When Anne began noticing the unfamiliar guests at Windsor, Camilla had no idea that the first piece of her plan had been discovered. She was still immersed in the illusion that everything was under control. The plan had been cleverly constructed, but greed always has its limits. And Camilla never expected that the very people she trusted would inadvertently become the greatest threat once Princess Anne was determined to dig deeper into the truth. At the same time, with her suspicions growing stronger, Princess Anne decided she could no longer sit idle. She knew that if she continued gathering indirect information, everything would remain mere speculation. Anne needed the truth. She chose Richard Harrington, the tall, silver-haired man, who had left the strongest impression at the Windsor Castle dinner, as her first target. In the following days, Anne conducted a secret and systematic investigation. She used private channels, instructing a trusted assistant to gather public records and financial reports of companies under the Harrington Group. The documents were delivered to her private office at St. James's Palace in sealed envelopes. Sitting alone before the thick stack of documents, Anne felt her heart beating faster. The numbers and transactions were clear: numerous roundabout fund transfers through overseas subsidiaries, energy contracts signed at an unusual speed, and suspicious tax benefits. Many signs pointed to violations of anti-money laundering and corruption regulations. What made Anne shudder was that although the UK Financial Authority and other agencies had investigated Harrington at least 3 times in the past 5 years, he had always bizarrely escaped trouble with almost no heavy fines, no formal charges. "It can't just be luck," Anne whispered, her voice tense. She gripped the documents tightly. These files showed an invisible protection network shielding Harrington. And according to Anne's instincts, the person behind that network was Camilla. Her suspicions deepened. Anne began to believe that Camilla had not only invited these businessmen to events for socializing, but had also secretly supported them for years, possibly through political influence, internal connections, or even indirect intervention in investigations. The thought filled Anne with both rage and sadness. She did not want to believe her brother was living with someone willing to harm the royal family's honor for personal gain. After many nights of consideration, Anne decided to act directly. She arranged a private meeting with Richard Harrington at his main office in central London. Harrington could not refuse. The meeting took place in a tense atmosphere. Anne entered the room with a calm demeanor, but sharp eyes. Harrington stood up to greet her, a professional smile on his lips, but Anne caught a flash of anxiety in his eyes. "Princess Anne, it is an honor to receive you," Harrington said smoothly. "What would you like to discuss?" Anne did not beat around the bush. She looked him straight in the eyes and asked Mr. Harrington, "I want to know the exact nature of your relationship with Queen Camilla. The privileges you have received at recent royal events are not coincidental. I also know about the suspicious financial transactions of your company. What has Camilla supported you with?" The air in the room suddenly turned cold. Harrington was silent for a few seconds, then smiled awkwardly and shook his head. "Your Royal Highness, I think you misunderstand. My relationship with Queen Camilla is purely a normal social interaction. She is a wonderful person who always supports the business community. As for the transactions, everything complies with the law. We have cooperated transparently with the authorities." His voice was calm, but Anne noticed Harrington's hands gripping the edge of the table tightly. The smooth, well-prepared answers only made her more certain that he was hiding something significant. Anne did not press further. She knew that pushing too hard would make him more defensive. She stood up, her voice cold. "I hope you are telling the truth, because if the royal family is being exploited, I will not stop here." As Anne left the building, she felt her blood still boiling. Although there had been no direct confession, the meeting confirmed one thing: Richard Harrington was afraid. And that fear was living proof that something very big was being concealed. Anne returned to the palace with an even stronger resolve. She knew she needed more convincing evidence, and she had no idea that this very meeting had caused Harrington to panic and immediately contact Camilla. The moment Princess Anne stepped out of his office building, Richard Harrington could no longer maintain his composure. His face turned pale and sweat beaded on his forehead despite the strong air conditioning. He quickly locked the door, pulled out his phone, and dialed Camilla's private number. The phone rang only twice before Camilla answered. Her voice still carried its usual elegance, but Harrington immediately detected the underlying tension. "Your Majesty." "It's serious," Harrington said in a trembling voice, skipping greetings. "Princess Anne just left my office. She knows a lot. She asked directly about our relationship, the transactions, and the privileges at royal events. I feel she has been investigating for some time." On the other end, Camilla stood frozen in her private sitting room at Clarence House. Her hand gripped the phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. A chill ran down her spine. She had sensed danger for days, but she had not expected Anne to act so quickly and decisively. "What did she say?" Camilla asked, her voice low and icy. "What did you reveal?" "I denied everything," Harrington replied. "I said it was just normal social interaction." But she didn't believe me. The look in her eyes, it was as if she already had some evidence. Camilla was silent for a few seconds. In her mind, countless calculations raced at lightning speed. If Anne had dared to confront him directly, it meant she held far more information than Camilla had thought. If the secret were exposed now, just as William was preparing to ascend, everything would collapse. Her reputation, position, and the network she had painstakingly built would be destroyed. "Listen carefully," Camilla said, her voice turning cold and decisive. "You must erase everything immediately, all traces related to our group and me. Tell the others to do the same. Do not leave anything Anne could use." Harrington swallowed hard. "Yes, Your Majesty, I will do it right away. But if she already has evidence..." "There is nothing." Camilla cut him off, her voice filled with false confidence. "No documents, no proof. Anne is only making baseless suspicions. We have been careful from the beginning. Act quickly before she goes any further." Camilla hung up. She stood up and paced the room restlessly. Anxiety mixed with anger surged inside her. She had invested so much effort into building this network to secure her position in the royal family. Now, because of one stubborn princess, everything was at risk of falling apart. She immediately summoned her two most trusted aides. In a curt voice, Camilla ordered clean all data. Delete every communication with Harrington and the others. If necessary, cut off all public relations completely. I want no traces leading back to this. The aides nodded and hurried off to carry out the orders. Camilla stood alone by the window, looking out at the peaceful garden of Clarence House. She told herself she still had control of the situation. With no physical documents and no direct emails, Anne would not be able to prove anything before the royal leadership. It would just be the words of a suspicious princess. But Camilla had made a fatal mistake she was unaware of. Before entering Harrington's office, Anne had anticipated that the other party would deny everything. She had secretly placed a small, highly sophisticated recording device in a hidden spot in the meeting room. The device had not only captured the entire confrontation between Anne and Harrington, but had also clearly recorded the panicked phone call Harrington had just made to Camilla. Every order to delete documents, every implicit admission, every anxious tone in Camilla's voice had been recorded fully and clearly. These recordings were living evidence that no data deletion command could erase. While Camilla was breathing a sigh of relief, thinking she had controlled the crisis, Anne was sitting in her car. On the way back, her earpiece still recording Harrington's subsequent conversations with other partners. A cold smile flickered across Anne's lips. The real game had only just begun. That night in her private study at St. James's Palace, Princess Anne sat alone under the warm golden light. On the desk lay the small recording device and a thick stack of documents. She wore headphones and listened repeatedly to each recording with a grave expression. Every word captured made Anne's heart feel heavier. Richard Harrington's voice rang out, clearly panicked. "Your Majesty, Princess Anne knows too much. She asked directly about the transactions and our relationship." Then came Camilla's cold, commanding voice. "Erase everything. Do not leave anything behind. Anne cannot prove it without documents." The continuing recordings revealed the implicit exchanges between them. Harrington reported on the benefits Camilla had received, while Camilla reminded him to keep the commitment and conceal all connections. Anne sat motionless, clenching her fists. She was not only disappointed, but deeply pained. The woman her brother loved was exploiting the royal family's very reputation for personal gain. The next morning, Anne did not hesitate. She requested an emergency meeting with senior royal household leadership, including King Charles's close advisors and representatives from Prince William's office. In the solemn meeting room, Anne presented all the evidence calmly but firmly. "This is not baseless suspicion," Anne said, her voice resounding. "This is clear evidence. Queen Camilla has built a private benefit network, trading royal privileges for support and financial gain. Our royal family is being exploited." The atmosphere in the room became suffocating. The leadership listened to the recordings with shocked expressions. Camilla's words were undeniable. An internal investigation was launched immediately, conducted in secrecy, but with great speed. Financial and legal experts were summoned to examine all records related to Camilla's group of businessmen. Within just 1 week, the full truth was exposed. Camilla had used her position as queen to grant privileges to a select group of businessmen. In return, they provided her with hidden stakes, media support, and political influence. Many major contracts had been signed thanks to the royal factor, some showing signs of regulatory violations. King Charles, though heartbroken, could not protect his wife. He sat silently in the final meeting, his face weary. William showed clear resolve the new reign could not begin with such stains. The consequences came swiftly and forcefully. Camilla's office autonomy was significantly curtailed. All guest invitation processes for royal events were transferred to direct control by William's team and the Joint Secretariat. Numerous businessmen who had relied on their relationship with Camilla were permanently removed from guest lists. Richard Harrington and several others were banned from appearing at any royal events. Camilla retained her title as queen, but her real power within the palace had been almost entirely stripped away. She appeared publicly less often, her trusted aides were replaced, and her private meetings were placed under strict supervision. On a light, rainy afternoon at Clarence House, Camilla sat alone by the window. Her face was gaunt, her eyes distant. All her ambitions to maintain her position had crumbled in an instant. She knew she had pushed everything to this point herself. Anne stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the vast courtyard. She felt no joy in victory, only deep sadness. She had done what needed to be done to protect the royal family's honor. But the cost was a large crack within the family. The British royal family continued to exist, but this costly lesson would haunt many for years to come. It was a lesson about the boundary between power and responsibility, between greed and loyalty. And Princess Anne, with her quiet courage, had reminded everyone that even in the most magnificent palace, justice could still find its light. In your opinion, was Camilla merely protecting her close allies, or did she go too far by trying to conceal the truth to maintain her power? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy.